بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Real Problems, Real Solutions. It's your brother Gabriel Romani. And if you haven't done so far, please subscribe and hit that notification button so you know when there's more of these videos coming out to educate the ummah about real problems with real solutions, inshallah. And check out the descriptions in the link to support this dawa. You can become a patron for as little as $3. You can help me make one of these videos and answer questions which you can submit through my Instagram at galromani. And you can send me on my DM a question and I'll try to respond bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Here comes a question from a brother. And as I said again, when I see that there's a trend, there's a lot of questions on the same topic, I'll try to make a video. This is a huge concern. And I'm not going to mention the culture. I'm not going to mention who they are because there's still a lot of khair in those people. And I've met a lot of good people from them and from everyone, like my culture, your culture, whatever. That's just the way it is. We cannot generalize. But you have to understand, when you say I cannot generalize, it's not that you are saying everyone is bad and you're trying to avoid saying that. It's that there's a phenomenon that's taking place and it's spreading more and more. It's spreading more and more. It's alarming enough to start educating people about it. So the brother that I'm talking about today, and others as well, by the way, it's not the only one. I'm speaking on behalf of a few different people. In this case, it's men who have suffered from a specific culture, of a specific ethnicity of women, who come from maybe a great background, a great tradition, Islamic tradition, with great history, with great young men who have conquered and who have brought Islam to Europe. But now they've gone post-colonial, they suffer from post-colonial trauma, and they are pretty much looking at the West for guidance. And some of these sisters were able to move to different Arab countries and live a lavish lifestyle that they've recorded and shared on popular social media such as TikTok and Instagram, and left the girls back home to only wish for the same lifestyle. So understand the problem. Good people with good background, good ethics and morals, Muslims, who are challenged economically, socially, post-colonial trauma, and they're good people, but they are basically bombarded every day with you can't have this, you can't have that, but there is a shortcut. Look at these girls who have gone to the Arab countries and have lived this lavish lifestyle by being this or that. And you could also be like that because in general, this culture, mashallah, may Allah protect them, their women are extremely beautiful. Okay, there's a mix of genes there from pretty much 3 different continents. And it is what it is. I think most men would agree with me if I were to name this ethnicity. So this has also given them an advantage in seducing men and in causing some issues. Again, I want to give a disclaimer. I had teachers from this country. I've had friends who are amazing, the best of people. I visited this place. I visited these people. They are some of the best people, mashallah. But the problem is, don't get upset, don't get triggered if you know what I'm talking about. That's not my objective. I could be speaking about another culture, and I've done before, about my culture, which is, Ya Allah, right? We are just trying to solve the problem. This is a increasing phenomenon that's taking place. So, what's happening is basically that these women, they see these so-called models or these women in living this lavish lifestyle, so they want it as well. Some of them have recurred to scams, to marry brothers using their beauty, not caring about losing their virginity, subhanAllah. And once they reach the Western lands and they get sponsored and they get some form of paper in their hands, then they basically say, ma'as salama. And many times they do it in a very negative way. such as accusing the man of abuse, such as calling the police. It's a very sudden, shocking turn of events, and all of a sudden you find them doing all kinds of other things. And it used to be very pious, just till the point they become a wife. They get to the Western world, and then all of a sudden they ask for divorce, or they forget about asking for divorce. They go through the Western courts, they say they were abused, they get all kinds of settlements, and then they live another lavish lifestyle, what they've been dreaming to by seeing TikTok and Instagram. Now, again, it's not you, sister. I'm not talking about you. I'm not generalizing, but this is increasingly happening. And specifically in certain countries that I can name, 3 or 4 countries, this is a huge problem. It is a huge problem. If you've been in those countries and you know which one I'm talking about, you will know kind of what I'm saying. Again, I'm trying to abstain from naming it because I don't want to upset those people who are so good, mashallah, right? They are very good. There's some people who are just amazing from these cultures, and they carry the history and the legacy of their forefathers. But you have to understand, right? When a person is suffering and has a lifestyle that is not very conducive for good morals and behavior, and they're being triggered from all areas that, hey, this is the life that you could have, you can understand, you don't agree, but you can understand where they're coming from. So some brothers have fallen for this beauty and for this seduction, and they, subhanAllah, some brothers fell twice for it from the same culture, and they're so hurt, they're damaged. There was one client that I had, subhanAllah, yani his wife just disappeared, taking 2 children, even had children, and as soon, 1 month or something after she received the German citizenship. And the brother was distressed because he didn't even know, he couldn't find out where they are, right? Is the police will call you and say, look, this woman doesn't want to see you anymore. Don't even come close to her. You have a restraining order. She's accused you of rape. So easy for a woman today to accuse of rape, especially in the Western countries. It takes a long process to actually prove your innocence because you're guilty by default if you're a man. And it stains your reputation. It stains everything. You might not even be able to get a job anymore just because someone decided to use you and abuse you to get a Western citizenship. This is how much the Kafir passport has become valued. That people are willing to forfeit their ethics and morals, their religion for that matter, to live in the Kafir land, in the Kafir world. But we need to look at it from different perspectives as well. What are our Muslim countries doing to facilitate a better life in the Muslim land? Again, it's not an excuse, no doubt, but when we analyze things from a counseling perspective, a psychology perspective, we tend to look at things from different angles, from different perspectives, not to condone something, but to understand. There's a huge difference to understand why a terrorist does what he does versus to say, yeah, I agree with him, right? There's a big difference. So the same way, it's a big difference to understand why these women do what they do versus to condone and say, yeah, good job. No. But it's bad because the one client that I dealt with was so, was broken, subhanAllah, right? A man cries, who doesn't understand what has he done wrong. And yes, I've talked before in another episode about women who suffer, specifically Romanian women from my culture, who suffer from a specific culture from the Muslim world who married them for the papers, just to use them and then to leave them once their papers are done, or to abuse them, or they show their true face after their papers are done. So this happens on both sides, but today's episode we're focusing on these sisters. So what can be done here? Well, the Prophet ﷺ said the believer doesn't get stung from the same hole twice. All right? So please, if you've suffered once, make it a lesson for you. Men, sadly, we sometimes lose rational faculties when a woman is extremely beautiful. And we kind of cannot see those red flags, and we will end up making the same mistake over and over and over again. إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّ, except who Allah has a mercy on him and helps him to be more of an intellectual and be able to see these things. So please don't get upset if you're from that culture. I don't mean to attack it. I'm just trying to raise some awareness. I'm not saying people shouldn't marry those people. All I'm saying is that their leaders, their culture, their people should raise awareness about this. We should all raise awareness about this. Whatever culture you're from, you should never use someone to just get your papers just for the sake of getting to the non-Muslim lands and to destroy someone's life. And especially the way they do it is like, oh, he hit me, he raped me, he did this, because that's the easiest way to get the divorce, to get the separation, for the government to help you, to step in, to give you some support, and so on and so forth. It's a trick. But for someone to do this, I would say they have to get so low. And that's where the sad, feeling comes in, that Muslims are either so desperate to do this, or they've reached such a level low in their ethics and morality that they do this. So be careful when you marry overseas. Be careful when you marry women from these applications. And indeed, a lot of these brothers marry these sisters on the applications. They get infatuated with the pictures that they see, the behavior, the attraction, and so on. So be careful with when you marry from these applications, right? You should know. The Prophet says, see her. You should know, you should ask, you should do your due diligence and vet this person before you will get burnt. And literally, you'll get burned. And if you got burned, make sure you don't get burned twice, because the second time is definitely going to be harder than the first one, all right? And man, you better not get burned 3 times, subhanAllah. So may Allah protect our brothers and sisters all over the world, and may Allah guide the people who are suffering in their lands and help them and release them from this suffering. Because indeed, when a person suffers a lot and there's a lot of economical restrictions, financial, social restrictions, a person starts misbehaving, subhanAllah, right? One person will be raising their hands towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the other person will be going around and doing or misbehaving. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us. Barakallahu fikum. Please, again, subscribe, check out the descriptions. Let's raise awareness about this issue. Do not hold grudges or hatred towards any culture. That's not my objective. It is just to help us to understand. When you vet someone, I'm not saying, oh, now that I see this culture, this name of this nationality, stay away. No. All I'm saying is vet them properly. Make sure you do your homework. Make sure you put in some protection for yourself to be able to at least get some time to know that person. You will never know them just online. You need to live with them. You need to travel with them. You need to do some transactions with them, as per the saying Umar Khattab radiallahu an. So, yes, indeed, it's not an easy task to know someone, but you have to do your best before you commit, so that once you commit, you stick to your commitment, you don't end up with divorce. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.